We turn this morning to the 13th chapter of Matthew, beginning in chapter 31, verse 31. Jesus told them a parable. He did that a lot. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed which a man took and planted in his field. It is the smallest of all your seeds, yet when it grows, it becomes the largest of garden plants. It becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and perch in its branches. And then he told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like yeast that a woman took and mixed into a large amount of flour until it worked all through the dough. The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field. When a man found it, he hid it once more, went and sold all he had and bought the field. The kingdom of heaven is like a merchant looking for fine pearls, and when he found one of great value, he went away, sold everything he had, and bought the pearl. And again, the kingdom of heaven is like a net that was let down into the lake and caught all kinds of fish. When it was full, the fishermen pulled it to the shore, and they sat down and collected the good fish in baskets and threw the bad away. This is how it will be at the end of the age. The angels will come and separate the bad from the good, throw the bad into the fire furnace where they will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Have you understood all of these things? And the disciples, oh yes. Therefore, every teacher of the law who has been instructed about the kingdom of heaven is like the owner of a house who brings out all his storeroom, new treasures as well as old. The word from the Lord in the house of the Lord. Have any of you moved? Anybody out there that's planning on moving? What a drag. Packing boxes, figuring out what to take, what to put. We moved from Wisconsin to a brand new house here in Arizona, just waiting for it. Well, it wasn't really waiting for us. We had to wait for it. Took a little time to get the certificate of occupancy. We were here at the end of the 1st of July and got moved in Labor Day. But we sold almost everything we had in the house back in Wisconsin because we were coming to a new house and we wanted new things in the new house. When we find a place to be close to God for the first time, we need to bring a whole new self to reside and abide with God. And we have to bring ourselves to be totally committed to a relationship with God. The parable of the woman working with the dough, ready to bake bread that was going to rise because she used yeast in it. If you put too much yeast in, it messes up the recipe, messes up the baking time, messes up everything. But once you put it in, you can't take it back out. And that's what God is talking about. The relationship with Him ought to be that complete, that once we are totally with Him, once we are with Him, we are totally with Him. We don't have any choices to back out. Now, Jacob was a good guy, I guess. He cheated his brother out of his birthright. And when his brother got angry about it, in order to keep him getting killed, he ran away. Went to work for his uncle, cousin, something, and agreed to work 7 years for the second daughter. And then he felt like he was cheated when he found out in the morning when he got up, because weddings end at night, and the bride comes fully covered, the top of the head to the floor. You don't see a bride until morning light. And then he said, you cheated me. And Laban said, I didn't cheat anybody. You know I cannot have the second daughter married before the first one does. You know our laws. You know our customs. You know all about us. And you were trying to cheat me. Well, a cheater gets caught every once in a while, and cheaters get cheated. So he took the second 7 years to earn the daughter that he really wanted. But as we go along, we'll find out that Of all of his sons, Rachel was only the father of the last two, or the mother of the last two. That Leah had been the wife who produced all of the children, all of the brothers of Joseph. But see, Jacob had this in mind, that he would pull something over on a sneaky guy like his, I guess it was a first cousin or something. It was all mixed up back there. And all he did was commit himself to 14 years instead of 7 years of labor, to 14 years of getting what he really wanted. But yet he was willing, because the goal that he had set, what he wanted in his life, was Rachel. For he loved her deeply. And he felt like another 7 years was not too much. Now, I'm not sure. I think we get into it. But we'll find out that Jacob was a conniving, sneaky kind of a guy all the way. And we'll get into it as he gets ready to leave Laban and decides to, they've got combined assets. They're going to divide them up. Anybody had a partnership out there that went bad? And you begin to divide up things, and you can really get excited about some stuff that's not very important. And the story in all of these, the parables and in the story of Jacob's maltreatment, mistreatment, or attempted cheating, is all about making a commitment to God that is real, that is total, is absolute, and we can understand that He will invest Himself wholly in us if we will invest ourselves wholly in Him. Simple. Simple. If we love God enough to commit to Him all of our assets, all of our talents, all of our worldly goodness, He'll bless us. I don't know that He'll make us rich. It's hard to tell exactly what rich might be. I'll tell you, the next Sunday that there are people in all of the seats in this place, I'm going to feel like the richest man in the world. But in the meantime, God expects me to be faithful to the message that I have for you. He expects me to try to translate some of the words out of the Bible into a message that makes sense to someone. And if we can remember that His is a gift of total, absolute love, then we can weather any storm. Yeah, 14 years he had to labor. Now, in the meantime, they've been raising sheep and they've been doing camels and stuff like that. So he didn't do all 14 years just for the two women. He wound up a fairly wealthy man because of the 14 years. But what a commitment, because what he desired, that pearl, that perfect pearl that is talked about in the parable, he invested everything he was for 14 years to finally wind up with that one precious thing that he wanted. We invest in houses, we invest in cars. That's a pretty bad investment. We invest in stocks and bonds. Sometimes that's a bad investment. But we have to remember that we are investing our soul in a relationship with God. And we need to commit our assets. Now, did you know that if you want to invest in, like Amazon, which is $2,000, $2,500 a share, that there are brokerages who will let you buy 1/100th of a share. So if it's $2,500, I could afford 1/100th of a share of Amazon at $25. I think maybe next week. But it takes tremendous commitment to hold on to the desire to be made whole in God's name. What Jacob sought was the love of his life. What Jacob needed to remember was that he had skirted the edges of propriety all of his life. And now he was asking God to give him the blessing that he wanted for the rest of his life. And as we will see, because we'll bring up his story later, we never give up on an outlaw. As we bring it up later, we'll realize how deeply he had to change from what he was. He had to be different than he started out to be. He had to be made whole and willing to totally surrender himself to God's will, to be totally blessed. Blessed through the years and years of trial and tribulation and the drought and so forth that faced him. But until he could make a commitment to God, he was skirting what God had in store for him. Now, I don't believe that any of us are predestined to walk into a door or run into one of these sliding doors that looks so clean that you don't notice it's there until after you bounce off of it or break through it. That isn't what God had in mind for us. He has in mind for us to pay attention. But if we're going to do that, he'll say, boy, that hurt, didn't it? He'll be there with you, regardless of what happened, because he never leaves us alone. He's always there. Now, I'm really good at turning my back and walking away sometimes. And I look, and then the next time I really, really need him, I found out he didn't let me walk away. He walked with me. And that's the amazing thing about God's love, is that it's always there with you. Even if you're a Jacob and you're a conniving, sneaky son of a gun, he's always there. Even if you're a jeweler or a jeweler who found the great pearl, if that was his object in life, God finally led him where he needed to be. Remember the parable of the farmer who had such great crops that he tore down all of his buildings and built more storage, and that night he died. You see, we tend to build monuments to ourselves instead of letting our life be a monument to Christ. I've said it many times, and it's so true, that a life well led is a better sermon than I can ever preach. But until then, you got to listen to me. So pay attention out there. Draw close to God. Give him time now. Listen for what he's asking you to do. Be one with him in all that you do, because he's so steadfast, so solid in his commitment to us that we have no worries about being abandoned. Our only fear ought to be that we will abandon ourselves and not be true to ourselves. Because if we're true to ourselves, then Christ will be our spokesman before the Lord. And he will walk hand in hand with us through all eternity, whether we're looking for a pearl in the field or great crops or just peace. God is there through the times we have no peace. God is there through the times we have nothing in our life that seems to be going right. Because at the moment things turn, you can see the hand of God in the goodness that happens. For Jacob, it was 14 years for the goodness of Rachel to come. So God doesn't promise instantaneous gratification. That's a product of the movies. That's a product of our society today. God expects us to be patient, to work through the things that occur, and have confidence, constant confidence in his love and his support and his commitment to us who are faithful. So hang in there. This too shall pass. But Jesus never will. Amen. He calls us to hang in there. I'm reminded of the cat in the poster that we've all seen, hanging. It's tough. Things aren't great, but they will get better. And they are wonderful in that Christ is with us. He suffered for us. Now he suffers with us. So go in his peace, the peace that he died to give, the life that he lost, that we might have it through eternity. Go in peace.